So for the cages, I want to make use of all my material. And from a bird's eye view, I want the cages to be 4 feet by 8 feet. And I'm going to share the back wall of fencing. And I'm going to share this wall of fencing. So I'll have 4 different chambers with a bird door here, 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 here. And I'll have a little covered area over here, 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 and here. And I will put a little sand bath in here, and it'll protect them from rain or something if they need shelter. So the middle will be like a little pavilion where the birds can go, and I'll put food probably in here, or maybe water in the middle of all 4, and either food or water on this water here for each of the cages. And so that's going to be 4 feet by 8 feet, and I want to have 2 levels of that. So looking at the front view, I'm going to have 8 feet long, 2 rows, so that'll be 32 square feet per level, 64 total. The birds will be sectioned off like this with the bird door here. I'm going to have egg rollouts here on all of them. And I think this will really make use of all the fencing that I need. And because this wall is shared, this wall is shared, I'll have poop trays between them for this level. And then for here, it can just go on the ground. I have 8-foot posts, which are easy to come by, treated. So these are going to be over here. And I'm going to have some pine boards holding the sides of the cages between the posts and the cages here. And then I will have a big, long 2x10 or 2x11. And I will have purlins, that is 2x6s going across, because here's a post, here's a post, here's a post. This is the top view, here's a post. So going across are these purlins at the very top. And those will be 2 feet on center, because the roofing panel I have access to, I've already got it, is 14 feet long. So this is 11 feet long. So I'm going to have an extension out here for 3 feet. Do something like that. So put some more purlins here, some thinner ones. And aside from this, I'll go over the site selection. After this, I'm going to put some cross bracing here, here, and on both sides, you know, here, here, the front side and the back side. And what else? I would like a gutter so I can collect all the rain. This will be up. I'm actually going to put this horizontal post here and raise this up. So that's going to be 3.5 inches higher on this side. So the slope will be 3.5 inches over 8 feet, because it's 8 feet from here to here. And I'm going to have this side 3 inches higher from this horizontal post, which I'm going to lay horizontally across like here. So my gutter will collect lots of rainwater. Maybe have a barrel out here for the garden. And this is different than most because I haven't seen outdoor cages. This is made for outdoors. And the reason the posts are on the outside of everything is because I might put some caging around the perimeter, and I might secure it to the outside of the post. So raccoons or something can't really reach in here, you know, if I have a cage all the way around. They can't reach in and get access to the through the thinner cage material here. So that could be some cage material. Not really sure what I'm going to do there. So let's talk about site selection. I came up with a little acronym for myself to remember going around the property. It's called STEP F. So S means sun shade. I don't want too much sun, I want shade. Morning sun is the best, so I'm looking for an area of morning sun, evening shade. T is well traversed. That means we walk along it. We view the quail often. We see if they have food, water, all their needs are met. Something we walk around every day. The E is egg access is easy. They're going to be laying a lot of eggs, and we want to be able to get the eggs easily. This goes kind of along with traversed. If you're walking along, you want to orient this so it's easy to get the eggs wherever your footpath is. If your path is here, then you have access to one side or both sides. The P is predators. So we want to make sure that predators can be excluded. It's in an area that might have fencing already from the garden. You know, here's garden fencing, and you might want to put it somewhere where you share the fence. And that's kind of along with the F, is use existing fencing or whatever fencing you put up is, say I have a garden like this, but I want to extend my garden over here. Well, I could put the quail hutch here, and I would have to put fencing here for the quail hutch, but that could also serve my garden to expand my garden out. So I walk around my property and I remember this step F, and it just goes along with helping me find a site that's going to be good for my quail. And one thing I forgot to mention is, of course, I'm going to have a roof over here across these purlins. So I will just mark that here. There's the roof, goes all the way across on top of the purlins. So here's my proposed quail hutch site. It's 1140 and shaded, and took a lot to get this thing squared away. I'm going to put posts at the corners of these pieces of wood, and I'm just filling in with logs and mulch for now. Actually forever. Hopefully the logs will deteriorate and the mulch will take over. I'm going to fill it up with mulch, and you'll see what it looks like afterwards. It looks like a mess now, but this is a good site because it's shaded. The southern sun in the summer is this way. There's the sun. And I'm going to put the roof like this. It's going to be 7 feet high, 8 feet long, with 2 sets of cages on each side, 1 and 2. Doors on this side, the long side, on both sides, and 2 levels. So I'll get 4 cages, or 32 square feet per level. This is a wooden beam that is from a shelving gondola for like retail. They were throwing out a bunch. You could use any type of metal rather than wood so it won't rot. The center of the cages will set on these, as you'll see later. So I wanted this to be very strong, but you could use unistrut. You could use a pole from an old fence post, or a swing set, stuff like that, pipe, you know, something strong. And there'll be 2 levels of these. It's on the ground right now. Anyway, you'll see that later. Okay, I added the mulch. It looks much nicer now. And it will pack down, but I can always add more later. I also use mulch in my greenhouse floor. It's great because it doesn't crack, it won't rot, it won't hide mice underneath. And you can always add more. No termites in cedar mulch that I've seen. I added leaves around the perimeter of the deck blocks. So if I'm building the structure in a flat driveway, I can come out here and adjust this a little bit if I didn't quite match up. Just makes it building easier on the flat driveway. And I did accidentally move my perimeter measuring sticks when I poured the mulch, but luckily I had these pieces of marble slab and I located the corners so I could just put the measuring stick right back to where it started. See, this one is a little bit over. There we go. Mark. So I've set this up temporarily, and these are the side panels, and they are also define the bottom of the cages. So when you reach in, you want the nook of your armpit to be at the bottom of here. So measure, from your feet to your armpit, the middle of your armpit, right here. And that's going to be this height. But remember, there's going to be an egg door here. So you really want to go about 3.5 to 5 inches below that. So armpit height, 5 inches. And then that'll give you enough space for the one below it to have still a foot of height. And you'll have some clearance in between for whatever maintenance or items you might want to place on top. So here's my armpit height, and I'm going to measure 5 inches down and make a mark right there. And I'll relocate this board to the 5-inch mark. So I relocated it down, and now if this level is my egg door, then I can reach over this egg door and reach all the way to the middle, which is where the label here is. And I don't have to stretch as far or tiptoe or anything. And it's 2 feet from here, the edge of the post, to the middle here. Now these are not the final boards I'll use. I'll probably use something like 7-inch boards. These are 5.5. But when I use 7, I'll have a lot of points here that I can drill in for wires that go across and hang the egg doors. And so these are temporary. You can tell this is cut off. But this will be a foot high. The cage will be a foot high from the bottoms. Okay, so foot high will be right there. So that gives me about, the rest of it is about 19 minus 12. That's about 7 inches for the poop tray and anything else, maybe a roof for the top of the lower cages. Moving lumber is easier with one of these little wheels. It's a heavy board. And the progress continues. Lots of bracing and ladders. The right side post has a 4x4 laying horizontally to give extra height. So I'll have 3.5 inches of slope from the high side down to this low side with no horizontal post. I am worried about this cheaper pine rotting, so I painted the ends and the inside before I bolted. But when I drilled my hole for the bolt, I noticed all this pine shaving inside, which will just absorb water Luckily the roof is here so the water can't get in, but for the ones down there, I'll probably have to undo them because the water will go in the cracks and just sit there on that soggy sawdust. So I will take those off and clean out the hole, even paint the hole probably, just to keep it lasting longer. A friend suggested actually putting washers in there to keep a crack so the water would have a chance to evaporate if it ever got wet. But when doing that, it gets more wobbly because you don't have a friction fit between the two pieces after you bolt it together. So I'm a little worried about doing that. I wish they had a washer that was a grip washer. Then I could put 2 bolts and then maybe these grip washers, I don't know if they were big and drained well and were like sandpaper on the ends. That would grip it well, but I don't know of anything like that. I got the diagonal support up and I was able to hide the diagonal rafters behind the posts on the front. But I had to do this big kludge underneath with 2 pieces of 2x4 or 2x6, 10s, whatever, a piece of 1/2-inch plywood in there. I don't like it. The bolts are really long and it's not as solid as I would like. The other option was to nail in or screw into this post, go directly to the rafter, but I didn't like that. I don't like that gap in between the post and the board that would be on that side, so I just did this. And I got my purlins up, 6-inch purlins, and I measured the roof put together. It was 6'3" because the overlapping section, you get a free overlap on the edge. When you don't connect it to anything, that's an extra 3 inches. So I measured these at 6 inches and I'll overhang by 1/2 inch, half a rib on each side. You know, half a rib here and half a rib on the other side. And then I put the panels up there, roofing panels. More on this later. I will measure exactly how far out the gutter needs to go, and I'm going to make this one, instead of screwing down from the top here, I'm going to make this one movable because I want to be able to adjust it. If this rots out, I want to be able to remove it. So I'm going to use some brackets like this, and I'll hide them on the inside, and that way I can take off this board if it rots because the rain will come down. I'm going to put a gutter, and I can adjust how far in and out because it is a little out of square. See here, it overlaps by that much. Over here it overlaps a little bit more, and you need the same amount of overhang for the gutters all the way down. And this panel is unforgiving. It's square. So if it's square, it's going to stick out this far over here and a different amount over here unless you adjust this by moving it in and out like this. So I'm going to put these underneath. Rather than cut my roofing panels, and because I want to capture all the rain that is possible, I'm going to extend this. I wish I had some 2x10s to extend it, but I don't. So that's a 2x8. And what I'm planning to do is I will cut down vertically 4 inches, and then I will go across all the way down, cutting so it gets thinner as it goes down to this point. So it'll be kind of at an angle like that. And I don't know if that'll look good or not. This purlin will come out all the way out here. It won't be a 2x4 instead of a 2x6 just to reduce weight. And I'll put another one where the previous screw holes on this used piece of paneling is. Screw holes are right there. I'll put a 2x4 also just to keep the weight down. I hope that won't bend over time, but if it does, I can always unscrew the 3 or 4 screws that I put in there. Might put a lag screw. Pro tip here. when you're screwing in for a bolt, make sure to screw in from this side, not the other side, because sometimes your bit wanders off and you get an off-center bolt. Arr. Here's the basic shape I need to cut. And just verifying it looks correct. Wow. And what I'll do is get down off this ladder. I will set this on a board. I'll make this cut first, so I'll have something to rest the board on. And then I'll cut only to here, and then I can cut that off. So I've got my board stabilized here, and you can't really go into the edge at an angle without messing up. So I'll start up here a little, and I will line up the line and then kind of plunge cut the blade down into the line, and it'll hit the back edge when I go down. And I just noticed there's a knot right there, but I'm going to use this board anyway. I'll probably make a mistake on the first board, or maybe not, and I'll end up going with it. And that worked well. Next, I'll cut here. That worked better than I thought. It's lighter than I thought, so not as much weight up there sticking out. If I need to, I can put a brace from this point down to there. I hope I don't need a brace because I don't like the looks of different angles. That's 45. I'll probably do 45. So this is interesting. The roof wants to pull up here, and I have to actually pull down pretty hard to get it to meet the purlin. It's the same as over here. So I'm guessing that this roof is going to help support its own brace by pulling up, and I won't need this brace coming down to here. Okay, so for the other one, I'm not just going to copy the previous cut as a template because this thing's a little out of square and it could be different. But what I do is I clamp up a very lightweight piece of wood, and then I see where the holes are, and that's the center. There's some holes up there too. And then I mark the center on my board, and then I can come down and come down and put the board on here and know how long it needs to be. On the big board, measure down. I did 3.5 inches down to this point, not that point, but this point. So then I can measure on a bigger board. And so that's the point I just marked up on the roof up high. So I'll center a 2x4 on there now and mark where the end of the 2x4 needs to go. And I'll transfer this whole length to another bigger board. And now that I've transcribed the center of the 2x4 and the edge on the outside, I will now come over here and mark where the notch goes. So I can make the diagonal cut from here over to there, 3 inches down. Okay, clamped up there. And guys, I'm not a woodworker. If you think of something better, please tell me in the comments. This thing may sag after a while, but I'm going to put it in a way so that I can remove it easily. I'll put in screws that are accessible. Even on these purlins, I'll put brackets instead of drilling down from the top into the spine piece. That way I can remove it all and put up something else. So I removed the roof, and now I'm going to paint to seal all the unprimed wood, all the untreated wood. Well, I haven't screwed down the roof yet, but I painted everything 2 different colors. I painted these a different color, so if I replace them, I won't use up all this paint, and I'll have lots of this paint left over that I can repaint this, and I'll probably change these out more often, so I can always leave these a different color. Looks kind of neat being two-toned. Can't wait to get those quail. I made the tool from a file folder. I cut one of the metal tabs in half and drilled holes and bent it. The holes are on that very edge that are useful. And it helps bend the little cut-off ends to hold the 2 wires meshes together. And you can finish up with another pass, bending this and then folding on the other side, or using a pliers at that point. But if you do the same operation all at once, going all the way down, and it goes much faster. It also helps if you have your cage disassembled away from the final assembly of your cages, so you can orient it differently. Okay, let me give you a quick tour of how things are progressing. This is the piece I made just showed you, fastening this floor to this side. So this cage will have a sloped floor like most of them do. Eggs will be caught here, predator proofed by this 2x4 that will extend. These are fence panels stitched together underneath by this board. Under here, I'm sure you've seen these canopy shades by the curbside. They get thrown out because the canopy tears. Well, I cut some of these pieces down and screwed into the fence. These are U-posts from an old trampoline safety net, the part that keeps the kids in. This is the pole from the safety net. And those are the U-bolts from the safety net. And I didn't have enough, or if you don't want to use U-bolts, I just put some metal to go around the pole. And on this other side, you can see I just screwed it in to support the side a little. That metal is bent around. It's just a piece of sheet metal. I think it's a roofing sample I had. Other things, I'm not sure about the latches yet. This is holding this whole thing up right now. And, oh, here's what makes mine a little different. I'm going to have fencing all along here, and it will incorporate the egg door, the egg drop inside the cage for predators. Here I'll put some kind of solid flooring so poop doesn't go on the eggs. And if the egg happens to be laid up here, there's a slight slope and the egg will come down here. And I may end up putting sandboxes, food trays and everything all along here. The only thing is I want my doors to open out like this. So that would mean I would have to put my hand over the sandbox, which is okay. But if the food and all is here, it might be too much. Now, I have options for the ceilings. I got 18 feet of these panels, and it was a pet gate that someone made and someone was throwing out at the curb. I was very happy to get this. Told them I would definitely use it. And other options, I think this is from a laundry machine. I could probably get more of these. It's nice smooth metal. It will rust a little. It has rusted a little bit already. That might be the covered portion. This is going to be divided in two sections. So I might have covered sections on the ends for shade. Put this in the middle for light, to have a little congregation room open to the air in the middle with little dark hiding spots from the weather or the wind on the sides. And let's see, what else? I have a lot of these panels from old microwaves, computers. They could be used. This could be used part of the shelter, and it doesn't go the full width of the cage, so I could put the door over on this side where my hand is, so they could come in here, look around, stay inside, come back out. And what else? Oh, let me show you the dropping egg door. This is the coolest thing. So I don't have latches yet. But here's just one latch all the way off to the side. And you could hear my golf ball drop. There's where all the eggs will go. So the eggs go in there, and then you can collect them here. And when you're done, fasten this back up. And this has got to be really tight. I extended the wire down there, so if a predator like a raccoon tries to get in, he'll have a hard time putting his fingers in there. And I'm going to put more of these latches, maybe every 2 feet, to keep this solid piece of conduit mated up with this solid piece of wood. That's the trick. You need 2 solid pieces bound together with a good lock. Nothing else works. You can't bind it to a fence, a mesh, because the mesh will bend. It's got to be solid. And on the ends, the EMT conduit is just setting here. Trampoline safety pole. You can even see the foot is supported by these brackets, L brackets, which are adjustable a little bit if I need to go up or down. And the whole side is at an angle. The floor, I mean, not the side. The side is horizontal, but the floor slopes. And that's it. That's the tour so far. If you guys have any ideas, I'm all ears. Hopefully I'll finish up soon. Stay tuned, see what I come up with. But if you have ideas, this is a work in progress. And I think I'll release this video soon to show you guys and get some feedback. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. Oh, one thing I do need some help with. These are vinyl, and I need something solid to keep the poop off the eggs, but I don't know how to attach these. I was thinking maybe Velcro, but Velcro would probably deteriorate in the sun, and I don't want to have wires exposed to the bird's feet, and I would like to be able to take them off to scoop out the poop like this, or maybe flip them over to just dust the poop off into here, which will fall into a tray for the poop. So any ideas, I'm all ears. Thanks.